The Wolfman. So I just released my Out of the Theater reaction that is live on my channel right now. If you'd like to check that out, that is a fun time. And this is going to be my in-depth, spoiler-free review for Leigh Whannell's The Wolfman. So the story to this one is about a family that wants to escape reality. They've recently received some bad news that their grandfather has passed away. And so they go to his cabin in the middle of the forest and some bad shit happens. And really that's all I'll say about the story. So jumping right into the positives, and really the biggest positive of this movie is the characters. The characters are the heart and soul of this movie. You have the main character, the dad of the film, who wants to become the best dad possible, who doesn't want to become his father. And there's an opening sequence where you see some of the abuse and the pressure that he put on him as a kid. And he has a daughter of his own. And, I think that's something, that all parents can relate to is if we had a bad upbringing, we don't want to, ensure that, on our children, is we want to do stuff differently. And I think every parent wants to be, the best dad possible, the best mum possible. They want to do what's best for their child. And really that's the key theme of this film here. And that's really all the motivation that you need to really get on the dad's side. Is he doesn't want to become his father. He doesn't want to have the anger management that his father has. He doesn't want to pressure his daughter into anything. He wants to give her a good childhood, a childhood that she will remember. And I really liked where that story went throughout the film, and I won't get into any specifics, but we've all seen the trailer, so this isn't a spoiler. The dad does eventually become the Wolfman, and so throughout the film you are seeing him slowly, step by step, become the Wolfman, and you are following him every stage of the transformation. And the transformation, I really liked. It starts off with just a simple scratch. Then that becomes infected, and the infection goes all throughout his body, where his body is drastically changing, where he gets this urge to eat human flesh, and he starts hearing sounds that aren't normal or heard to the human ears. There's a great sequence in the film where you hear these very loud and aggressive footsteps on the roof, and as the dad gets closer to this sound, the sound starts to get louder and louder and louder, and you find out that it's different to what you'd expect. I'll put it that way. And I thought that was a great sequence. For a couple of reasons. One is it plays with a very traditional horror trope of the Wolfman is on the roof watching them, and and it plays up that as the setup. And really there's a lot of sequences in this film, as a matter of fact, that have the setup of a traditional horror trope, and the payoff is drastically different. And so the film does play with audiences' expectations very much, and I think that was an element that I really liked here, where you think some scenes are going to go the very formulaic direction of how a traditional mainstream creature feature would normally go. So so you think it's going to go that direction, but then it takes the exact opposite, and that was something that I really admired here. But getting back to the characters, so the dad, I think, is the main character here. He's the protector of of the family. He's the one who wants to do everything right. He wants to be the quintessential perfect dad. And then you have the mother, who is a journalist, and and she also wants to be a protector of her daughter as well. And I want to speak about the protector element here, where once the dad becomes a werewolf, that's really where the mum has to step up to the role of the dad and has to become the official protector of the daughter. And this is a horror movie with a kid in it. That can easily be, hit or miss. There's some great horror movies out there, actually, that do have, a great, kid actor portraying them. But then sometimes you get an actor who doesn't know how to act. And I'm happy to say all of the performances across the board here are fantastic. Like, this film is really set on this family. So if these performances fell through, this movie would not work. And every performance really has their time to shine, and every character has their moments. And the daughter has to go through some emotional distress throughout the film, of really seeing her dad in front of her eyes become this creature. And the ending of the film is absolutely tragic. Because you realize that the dad has now become the one thing that he didn't want to become. Is he has now become a monster. He has now become something that her daughter is now scared of. And just, I thought that was a great way to really bring closure to this arc. And as far as like how the movie does wrap up, I will not spoil. But yeah, you really feel bad. You really feel bad for the main child actor in this film, especially in the third act, when she is witnessing, this. She's witnessing these events that no human should ever witness. And now, moving on from that, I want to talk about the sound design in this movie, because this has, as I said in my out of the theater reaction, this has some of the best use of sound design I have ever heard in a horror movie. Going from just everyday sound, such as a simple twig snap, to the leaves rustling amongst the trees. These are all things that we hear on an everyday basis, and Leigh Whannel makes them terrifying. And I used a term in my out of theater reaction, which I 100% stay true to, which, this is the type of movie I call environmental horror. Because it's not so much what you see that is horrific. Like, that definitely does play a part in the movie for sure. But really, for a lot of this movie, it's what you hear and it's what your brain interprets those sounds as. And I think the use of imagination is something that is missing from so many Hollywood productions, and I thought it blended itself so well into the story here, and he did such a great job at bringing this environment to life and getting the audience immersed into this world. And this is a very secluded film. Like it's a cabin in the woods story. We've seen them a dozen times before. But Leigh Whannell does such a clever way at building a lot of the tension, building a lot of the suspense through the sounds that you hear. And yeah, you have to watch the movie to see what I mean, but I really liked the way the sound was really the driving point for a good half of this movie, because you don't see the Wolfman for most of this movie. The Wolfman shows up in the third act, but for the most part, it's more through sounds. It's more through growling and other sounds that are played throughout the film. And the cinematography, I thought was really good. The film does do a great job at the beginning of the film of setting up the environment, because you get all of these establishing shots of the property that do come back into the film later on. So, and it's just your overall, production value. I've no complaints there. Now I want to talk about the Wolfman here. This design, I think, is going to be very, is going to be very hit or miss with a lot of people. For myself, I really dug the design of the Wolfman, and I liked seeing the actual transformation happen over the course of the film, because I think that's something that most werewolf films just kind of brush over. And so this is a film that you're really seeing someone transform into this monster. And as I said, you're seeing his body language change. You're seeing that he by the end of the film, he becomes this deformed figure almost, where his fingernails are falling off, and his growing claws to his face rearranging, and that's another thing here as well. The practical effects. This isn't CGI. This is going back to very old school classic werewolf films of making it practical. And the gore in this film, the fucking gore. This is a highly disturbing and disgusting film. I've seen Terrifier. I've seen a lot of disgusting shit in my life, but the gore in this film looks so utterly realistic and so lifelike that I found myself looking away from the screen a couple of times. And just, yeah, there's some really horrific shit in this movie. But, I thought it was really good. And it had a place, amongst the story. Like, you know, I like a gore that actually has a story to it rather than just shock value. And so, yeah, that was a big positive here. What else is there to say? Just Leigh Whannell's direction in this film, is very good. Like, this film moves at a very fast pace. Like, you have a quick introduction to who these characters are, and then as soon as they get to this cabin, it immediately starts. And it is very intense, and Leigh Whannell does such a great job at keeping the tension building. This is the type of film where I found myself, biting my nails. I found myself really rooting for these characters, and which unfortunately is considered a positive now, since a lot of horror characters are just cannon fodder. Let's see. The final shot of this movie, like, it's really beautiful. Like, it is really. Hold on. Magic. There we go. Well, what was I getting at with this? The final shot of this film, it's beautiful, but it is also highly disturbing, just because there's a line very early on in the movie where the dad's talking about, I want to show you this one particular spot. And the dad never gets to show them this. And so it's a really horrific, image in that regard. But the environment, like, there's literally some shots in this film, I could print off and I would happily put up, as a wallpaper. Like, there's some shots in this film that are really breathtaking, and the scenery has a lot of depth to it, and just, it is beautiful to look at. And just the way that the film closes out, I would love to see a sequel, purely seeing the trauma and seeing how they've actually coped seeing something that should never happen to a human being, and having to live with this memory of this particular decision that these characters make at the end of the film, which is going to drastically change the rest of their lives. And that was something that I really dug, is really putting your family that you love, they are now going against you. The person that you have the most trust in and that will love you with all their heart is now turning against you. That is horrifying. And there's a lot of scenes in this film where you see that emotion flow through, where they have some great sequences where they have the perfect opportunity to kill this beast, but they choose not to, because they're hoping somewhere within that design and within the monster that he has become, that their father still exists. And just, that, I don't know, stories like that, just are really personal, and I think, hit, and I think hit a lot harder than if it was just a friend group. As soon as you bring family into a horror movie, you're like, yeah, that's fucking game over for me. Like, I cannot watch horror movies that deal with families going against each other. Like, I just can't do that. Like, yeah, that shit is way too real for me. Um, let's see what else. As far as the scares in this film, there's some really good scares in this film actually. There's one that takes place in a barn, that I thought was very effective, and it deals with darkness and the whereabouts of the Wolfman, and I thought that was a very effective scare. I thought that was very tension filled. And yeah, really, like all of the scares, there aren't too many. There aren't too many in the film, but the ones that you do get, are really good. So, another cool thing that they do with the wolf in here is they have this vision. So you're jumping in between two different perspectives, going from the main character's perspectives to the werewolf's perspective, and there's a really cool visual effect that they do that I thought was visually appealing. I thought it was a cool effect. It wasn't overdone. It was simple and effective for what they were trying to do. So so I really like that. The script. This is a very tight film. This is a very quick and easy. Easy might not be the word, because this definitely isn't an easy watch. But this is the type of film where it's really an in and out. Like, you start the movie and then and then by the time it's over. The film just moves at a rapid pace, and it never really feels like it is dragging. There's always some new information that the film is adding. There's always something new that they do with the tension. Like, every scene, like I mentioned at the beginning, that this is a very tension-filled movie, and the way that they do the tension is they amplify it each time. So it might be one thing in the first sequence. I'm explaining this horrifically, but it might be one thing in one sequence, and then it will change and it will get worse in the second sequence, and they try to add unique elements to the tension here. So that was something that I really dug and appreciated. But yeah, really, at the end of the day, this was a film that I really liked, and I think the film has a lot of heart to it. And I wasn't expecting, I was expecting just honestly a typical creature feature. I wasn't expecting a movie that heavily dealt with characters and really like a theme driven movie. And yeah, like this film had so much in it that really made this experience memorable to me. And this is definitely a film I'm going to go back and watch again. I saw the film in IMAX, and I think that's definitely the way to see it, since this is a very sound driven film. IMAX definitely allows that higher sound quality where the sound is a lot more vibrant. So, you know, I'd recommend checking it out in IMAX. But yeah, just, you know, if, you know, go to like a Dolby theater or like an AMC theater. Like, you know, these ones have very good, you know, sound quality. You know, Dolby in particular, you know, has or is very good sound quality. So yeah, you know, yeah, there's definitely a few ways of watching this movie, but yeah, I definitely recommend checking it out in a theater with a crowd, because I think this is going to be a real crowd pleaser. This isn't a feel good movie though. Like, and unfortunately, I have to say that, because I think this is going to be a film that definitely triggers a lot of people, just because of the heavy subject matter. But yeah, so yeah, I'd say, know who you are going into this film, and I think if you go into it with the right expectation, I think that this is going to be the film for you. I'd say that, if you are a father, or a mum who just want to go see this film, who's not particularly, that well invested in horror, I'd say that, yeah, really, honestly, keep away from this movie. I think it's going to set off so many alarms. But yeah, yeah, this was a film, yeah, that I really enjoyed, and I cannot wait to go back and watch it the second time. So, anyways, I'm dragging on. So, anyways, guys, let me know down in the comment section down below, what did you guys think of Leigh Whannell as the Wolfman? Have you seen the movie? What did you think of it? And have you seen the 2010 remake that came out for the Wolfman? Let me know your thoughts on all of that and more down in the comment section down below. So until next time, guys, I will see you in the next video. All right, bye.